Today we're going to be talking about options when the house that you're buying, the appraisal comes in low. I get this question all the time. It's one of those things that even real estate agents often don't understand. Okay, so first of all, hopefully you didn't do an appraisal waiver. And if you're like, what's that? Check out my video from Tuesday. I talk all about appraisal waivers and what you need to know. Okay, so you didn't do an appraisal waiver and the house that you love just appraised low. Okay, so just for example, I'm gonna say it's a $500,000 house and it appraised at $480,000. Okay, now, number one, you could ask the seller to reduce the price to the appraised value. If you're gonna do that, I would always suggest that you share a copy of the appraisal with the seller, okay? Because you don't wanna just say, hey, house didn't appraise, I want it to be lower. Usually the seller wants to see some sort of proof. Now, legally, do you have to give it to them? No, you own the appraisal, it's your property. However, if you're asking for a reduction, it is a good idea to share. Now, with all the realtors and everyone looking at that appraisal, it may come up that, wait, there's something wrong with this appraisal, okay? It does happen. You know, appraisers are not perfect. There may have been something that sold that they didn't know about, so it wasn't included in the report. There may have been, you know, upgrades to the house that maybe they didn't know about, so value wasn't given for that. So it's always a good idea when you guys are looking at this, that the real estate agents are examining the appraisal to see if there's something, you know, inaccurate, okay? So let's say you give it to the seller and the seller says, sure, I'll drop my price. Yay! Oh my God, that's awesome. Congratulations. That is the ideal outcome. Okay, that is not usually the outcome we see, but we do see it sometimes. Sometimes we see it where like a seller had a price that was really high and everyone knew it wasn't going to come in and the seller just wanted to try and it didn't work and they accept it and they go with the lower price. Okay, that would be great. Now, let's say they don't do that. Usually what happens next is the realtors come to the lender and they say, this appraisal's garbage, they're wrong. Okay, if the appraiser's wrong, please provide to us some comparable sales or information that we can share with the appraiser and ask them to update the report. Okay, we can't just go to an appraiser and say, hey, they said your report's trash, you better get that value up. No, 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 no. If there is something wrong with the report, we can point that out and ask them to address it, but we cannot just say it's trash and you need a higher value. I say this because you'd be surprised how many real estate agents tell me to say that. And I'm like, no, like, no, you can't do that. We have to be able to provide some sort of proof. Okay, so let's say we have some proof and we give it to the appraiser. The appraiser is going to look at it. They may agree, they may not agree. So if, for instance, they missed a comparable sale that was down the street exactly like your house, okay, that's probably a real miss. Now, if, let's say, the realtor provides, let's say it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that you're buying on an acre, okay? And the realtor sends us something that's 7 bedrooms, 4 baths on 6 acres, 3 miles away. Okay, that is not the same as the house you're buying. That is not a comparable sale. So that's a little bit extreme. I don't usually have stuff like that sent to us, but you know, sometimes we'll see stuff where we're like, oh, come on, like, nice try. Like, you know, yeah, it needs to be like or similar. And often real estate agents are just doing their best trying to get something, which I totally understand, but an appraiser may not agree with them. So we bring the information back to the appraiser has to address it, okay? And then either the value goes up or the value doesn't. Okay, so value goes up, yay! Okay, the value didn't go up, shoot, now what? Okay, well, if at that point, you know, if we're looking at it and we're like, gosh, you know, those comps the real estate agent provided are really good and this appraiser seems a little off, we do what's known as a quality review. So we go through the appraisal tip to toe to see if potentially we should order a second appraisal. Okay, now look, it's pretty rare that a second appraisal is ordered. It has to be a real bad appraisal in order for that to happen. It can't just be like, oh, the value came in low, I want another one. No, we have to prove that the first appraisal is deficient in order to order that second one. Okay, so I don't see a lot of that. Usually we move on to the next step. Okay, so you asked the seller to drop the price, they said no. You tried to get the appraisal increased, it didn't happen. Next step, okay, will the seller pay a portion? Will they reduce the price a bit and will you come up a bit? You know, sometimes there's the meeting between halfway, or you know, maybe they'll come down $2,000 and you'll come up 18, whatever it is, okay? There can be a negotiation between both parties in order to come to an agreement. Now, important to note, the lender is going to do your loan based off the appraised value. Anything higher than the appraised value is on you, okay? And if, let's say, you are putting down 5% on the loan, we would need 5% of the appraised value, plus you've got to cover the difference if you're doing that. Okay, so in that example, the seller's covering a bit and you're covering a bit. Now, seller says no. Okay, well, you do have the option if you have the cash and if it meets loan guidelines, meaning that it's not, you know, a jumbo loan or something where it can affect reserves or drama. You do have the ability where if you're sitting on a stack of cash and you want to bridge the difference, fine. That is your right as well. Okay, so it's important that you guys know that. Sometimes we'll see in offers that the buyer's willing to pay $10K over appraisal. If you put that in an offer, you better be prepared to do it, because odds are if you're putting that in writing, it's because it's super likely that it's not going to appraise. Okay, so the last one, okay, so the seller said no, appraisal won't go up, you guys can't come to an agreement, you can't, you know, bridge the difference, you don't have the cash or you don't want to, then it can end up as a cancellation. And that would mean you're starting over with a new house. So those are really all the ways I see this worked out. There's really not much more to it. If a real estate agent's watching this and they're like, well, Jen, what about this? But I mean, the bottom line is if the appraisal's low, the lender is only gonna lend based off the appraised value. There's no exceptions to this. So if there's some sort of bridging or whatnot, fine, but just know that if you're in contract at 400 and it appraises at 380 and you're like, I don't care, I think it's worth 400, well, the reason we have to have the appraisal is because we have to make sure it's worth what you're paying. And if it comes in at 380 and you're purchasing it at 400, the appraiser's saying it's not worth 400. So the loan is going to be based off of that 380. So as always, questions or comments, please feel free to reach out. I am licensed in 48 states to do mortgages, and regardless of the state, all of those ways are the way that I see it work out. So if you guys are going to be writing an offer on a house that's higher than the list price, you may want to talk to your agent about showing you some comparable sales first, so that you don't end up in this position where you've paid for an appraisal and an inspection and the appraisal was never going to come in and you're not properly prepared. So thanks for watching. Check in with you guys